Hi everyone, it has been some time. Welcome back. Today we talk about tagging simulator. So in the past we did this tag format painter. We talk about this, which essentially takes a existing tag that I placed over here, this outlet tag, and select a group of element in this view. It will apply the same look on every other one of these outlets. So it looks like that. We talked about that in the previous videos. Search for it if you're interested. And later on, we talk about the annotation format painter, again in the previous videos, which applies the same logic to generic annotations and text note. So this is a tag, and assume the same thing happens, imagine the same thing happens for a generic annotations or a text note. Now here comes the final version of this, which is the tagging simulator, the final version of this as for now. The challenge is tag, annotate, and text note. Create those for multiple elements on multiple views. Let's just right away demonstrate how this thing works. So I have 9 rooms in this level, and I have duplicated them on 3 levels. So in total 27 rooms. Each have its own scope box with a separate plan, or even level 3. Here's a dependent view. So they are all blank. Now for this one, I've tagged 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. There are rack number tags, outlet type tags. This is a generic annotation, and that's a text note. I want to apply the same thing for all these 27 views. And here's how we could do that. Running this, pick the plans, select annotations to simulate, just drag select everything over here, finish, next step. Here you see like it's trying to open the views in the background. Come back here for number 1, which is this rag tag. I want to type the same type, tag all. For this one, the outlet number 2, I want to tag everything of the same category. Again, tag all. For number 3 is this text note. Because it's a text note, it doesn't by default has a host. I'm going to select this cable manager as the host. And then for text note, I want to have only 1 per view. And then finally is this number note, is this generic annotation for the rack. The same type and only 1 of them. Once I hit start, it's going to run this in the background. Apply the same logic for all of these views. And once it finishes, see all the rack tag comes in, the outlet comes in, this card reader has been tagged as well. And if I open any of the other views, you see the same thing. In this dependent view, you can kind of see like everything is being tagged. Even though it looks weird over here, this is H3. So if I open this view, it will still on this view looks straight. Now that's how it works, and that's in a nutshell how it works. Yeah, basically. So why is it important? Well, even though I can come here and for some of these, just click copy. On level 2, I could do paste align to current view. It will come in. But that's only when these rooms are stacked. So I cannot copy things from room A and attempt to paste them in room B. Here, if I say modify, paste, align to current view, it's going to say could not find a host. Because in all reality, this is A, this is B. They're not stacked together. They're not in the same, they're in different planes and different locations, so they won't be able to paste over. If I want to say paste in the same place, it's going to be off course. If I say copy from clipboard, it's not going to be visible in the view. So not always, the conclusion is that for tags, it's very hard to copy paste. And more importantly, when it comes to sections, say if I want to tag all, I create this tag, it will always come to the center. And now once it comes to the center, I have to go ahead and select all of these and try to move it to a location. Imagine doing that for multiple views, which is kind of takes a lot of time. And also tagging all will not have this leader and elbow styles. Maybe it's not useful in this case, but certain cases it is actually quite useful to have the leaders pointing to the different element. And simply because we have multiple of these elevations, if they appear on different sheet, we want the same styles and same tagging to apply for multiple sheet. And doing this manually will take a lot of time. So that's why I create this tagging simulator to help facilitate this process. Now, let's take a look at this workflow, and we're going to explain a little bit deeper into how this is done. So first, we're going to collect views. What kind of views that need to apply this simulator to? We're doing so by assigning all of these views a common project parameter. Here, the view ID says sections. And similarly, when we first demonstrated on floor plans, all of these floor plans have the same view IDs as plans. Therefore, if I run this, let's first close all these views. If I go ahead and run it, it will first examine the views in the model and find the unique view IDs. Then for this example, we're going to do sections, so I click sections. Next step is select tag annotation text to simulate. These are existing tags that I manually placed in the model in the location that I want, in the styles that I want, with the correct text value that I want, these correct parameter values. So once I select it, see it only responds to annotations. Like all the model element will be deselect. Actually, yeah, I have to do it this way. Yeah, I think probably already selected. Let's go next step. Now what we see here is it is trying to open all the views. I'm going to explain why that's important later on. But once all the views are opened, oh, it probably really didn't select it. No matter, let's do this again. Close all the views. Run. Section. Next step. This time I'm going to get selected only once. So select. See only the annotations are highlighting. Drop. Finish. Next step. Much better. Now it opens the views in the background. Come back here. The third step is that for each selected tag, we're going to tell the script what other things in the model that we want to apply this tag or annotation or tags, and in what style. So I place this marker in here indicating that this is the number 1 comes here, model tag, which is the number. This one I'm going to apply for the same type. So in this there are families and categories. Probably family will work the same, but in our previous case when we were doing it on floor plan, we tagged the outlet and card reader with the same style. That's when we choose category. In this case, family and type are the same because they really only have one type in this family. But if you have multiple types, you can do the family as well. And then tag all, because I want to tag every rec that is visible in this view, not just one. The same applies for this number type, which is the second one. Over here, you see the 2 over here, and tag all. So next. Then comes to generic annotations in text. They do not have default host, so I have to pick it for the script. For number 2, well, we human knows that is pointing this patch channel. Script doesn't really know. It could be the patch channel, it could be the racks, it could be the everything in there. So I have to select it. Tab over and select. Now, because this is a number node, we really don't want to place it over and over again. So it will be the same type and only one of them per view. The same goes for the cable tray text. You can just select this piece over here and say that could be categories, or if there is a different type of tray, it's the same. Tag 1. And after specifying this, we could run the script open view, which it already did, and then extract all the data, find target element, essentially at last create tag and matching the styles, which will look something like that. Okay, see all the racks being tagged. This thing comes in, open any other view, it looks the same. Even though the patch panel are at a different location versus this, it still locate the patch panels and create this similar tag with the similar value. This one is actually an instance parameter, by the way, so I can actually change it. But it is taking what has been placed and doing the correct thing. Overall, we create 972 of them in just a blink, which is how fast we can be. So that's basically the workflow. Now we talk a little bit deeper into what are the important things to note. There are 3 things. The first one is about how to select things. I want to find all the rags on a given view. Obviously, the solution is filter element collector by view. If you look at the filter element collector, this one we fill in the view ID and search and filter visible element in the view. It says these visible element may require Revit to rebuild the geometry of the view. The first time your code runs, you may experience a significant performance degradation. Essentially, what I find out is that if the view is not opened, it takes forever for this thing to run. You need to open the view, let Revit generate it, and the filter collector will be a lot faster. Therefore, we comes to questions of open the views. You see, like when I run it, it opens all the views in the back. How to do that is the request view change. Apparently, thanks to this gentleman, it says here the active view set in doesn't work in Dynamo because it doesn't run in the when Revit is idling. But the request view change will work. Here is the request view change. Says it will now take change in active view immediately. Will be post to occur when control returns to Revit from the API context. So that's you can see, like when I do this, I'm using the pop-up window to pause the script and return back to Revit. Therefore, gives the request view change an opportunity to open the view. If I do this again and let's see. It's okay. When I select this section groups, I tell Dynamo which view groups to look for. And after I select this tag to simulate, I click next step. It brings up another pop-up window for me to decide what to do with those tags. That's the break where the control comes back to Revit and the script is opening all these views in the background. That's how it generates, and that's why it is in this break it tried to open the views. After this, if I click start, it will just create the tag. It does not have another pop-up windows, so I cannot I cannot open the views. It will start filtering these elements in the views, so it has to open the views in those steps in between. Otherwise, like, it will take forever to run. The last one is the element location on view, which we will have to demonstrate by showing the script. So let's first undo all of these. Now I'm going to open a few of these views just to explain. Okay, we'll demonstrate that by showcase the daemon script. Now, one of the tricky things is that if I only want to tag one of them, I have to find, in this case, the patch panels that is located in the top right corner. I want to tag this patch panel on the top right corner. Now, because I want to do that, I'll have to find all the patch panels and locate them on this view to say like which one is most identical to the existing sample that I'm given. Therefore, it has to understand the position of these patch panels on a view. Now, here every view is identical, but in all reality, we don't really know what's on the view, how big the view is. It could be any size of the views, and the element could be in any kind of locations on the view, which requires us to position them in the view and get the corresponding locations. So this one I trimmed off all the selections. I've already defined the selections, and if I just go ahead and do automatic run, you see the blue dot in the back. This indicating like here is clearly clear. The blue dot is indicating it has find all these locations, all these elements that are the potential host for the tag. For example, I want to tag all the racks, therefore all the racks has this blue dot visible. Similarly, if I come here and say I add another rack and refresh this script, this rack will have that blue dot as well. And if I change this to I think it's false over here, which means yeah, it will tag every patch panel in the view. This true or false controls like how many patch panel to find. In which case, if it says false and find every patch panel, and now if I add more, and refresh this view set, it will find those ones as well. That's true. By the way, we can take a closer look in here, which is the filter element collector. So like here it says filter element collector by view ID and of category ID. And if I want all the same category, which is fine. If I want the same family, I'll have to filter them by family name. If I want them filter them by type, I'll get type ID and filter by type ID, etc., etc. So now on to how to locate these things. For example, if I create another patch panel, I'll put it somewhere here, and refresh this. Oh, I still think it's that one, because this one's way too far. What is a better example? Well, if I change the size of this view, say I extend it, and then make additional rack and patch panels over here. That's when it's probably gonna locate this one. Because how the script works is that it examines this existing view and sync the view crop region as a surface, and then realize that for this one it is somewhere over here, and then therefore it goes to these views, and now I have a different crop region which is larger, so that's where it find a larger crop region. And for all of these patch panels on the view, it will be like circle, circle, and then essentially it looks something like that, right? And on the very end, there's one over here, and then there's one over here. That's this one and this one. The script knows that on this one, the original, it is in here. So it comes to here and expect to find something in here, in which this one is the closest. That's why if I refresh this, the blue dot appears over here. Now if I delete that one and run this again, the blue dot comes to this one, because now this doesn't exist. What I'm achieving that is I'm turning the crop regions into a surface. So if I preview that, you see like these are all the surfaces. And I turn all these rack equipment into dot on the surfaces. And for each dot returns a corresponding XY on UV on essentially UV on the surface. And I have this source view. Now it's invisible because I turned this on. On the source view, I know the UV is probably, if that's 0, this is 1. Here is probably 0.8, 0.8. Because I know the source is 0.8, 0.8, I come to this view, take that as the new surface, and examine all the patch panels location, find the closest one to a 0.8, 0.8 dot on this surface. That's how I find this patch panel. Now this all sounds good. However, there's one problem. Here, by the way, these are the racks that is going to be the patch panels that are going to be tagged. That's the location of them, and this is the surface. Now I'm querying them for surface UV parameter at point. By the way, probably we should undo this. Now refresh that. Back to the original state. And the UV. As we can see the result, they're not really identical. In all reality, they should be identical. But here, you see like some of them says 0.47, some of them says 0.528. This is, and the essence is that because the surface is flipped, sometimes you see like this two add up to be 1. Because the way the surface is generated, I don't know if it's in Revit or because it's in Dynamo. If you look at that's the XYZ plan, these surfaces are pointing in different angle and locations. Sometimes they are flipped. Therefore, one of them is the 0.47. The other one is actually 1 minus 0.47, which is 0.528. That is not good. We have to avoid that. Otherwise, I will never find the correct locations, which is like what I'm trying to explain this. Element location on view, the XY coordination on surface, sometimes depending on the surface orientation, it is flipped in the other direction, like here. In order to mitigate that, what we have to do in here, I think, yeah. Here is that I'm taking these surfaces and I'm taking them, flattening them into the original coordination. How should we explain? Now you know that these surfaces are vertical like that. What I'm actually using is taking this surface and project it onto the XY plane. So target surfaces, yeah. If I turn this visible, what? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, actually 3. You see, like what I'm actually using is this face. I project all these vertical sections onto the XY plane and using that as the UV to find the locations. Now that because they are all projected into XY location, they are actually on top of each other. This way, the UV is always not flipped. They are always on the same orientation. So I transform the vertical surface to XY plane to avoid the scenarios where the UVs are flipped in certain if the sections are different orientation. This thing doesn't happen in plan views because plan views are always stacked on the same angle. But for sections, sometimes the surface is flipped. Therefore, I transfer that into the XY plane to avoid that. So this is all of the things to notice, and this is how the script works. Just run and I can tag everything, as many types of tags that I want on all of these views, as many views as I want. Demonstrate again, select the plans, select all the tags in this view, finish, next step, then it opens the views in the background. And for these ones, that's type tag all. The other one is category. Now I'm demonstrating that by selecting, say, type, and then the card reader won't be tagged. Next, select the host manually. Just hit start. And right there, we have successfully generated a good amount of tag in very little time. That's 594. By the way, the car reader won't be tagged now. So that's the tag simulator. Hope you enjoy it, and see you next time. Thank you.